In the last video, we looked at how to get these modules started in Canvas, and so go back to that if you want to see how to make these little sections look like this. You can tell that I've added a good bit of stuff in here since the last time we talked, because I want to use all of these things to demonstrate how to organize graded items in the assignments area, and specifically how to do weighted assignments and some graded rules, and why we care about that sort of stuff. So in each of these modules I have an assignment and then a discussion and a quiz. Each of these is a graded item that shows up for students, and so if you remember from the first video, all of these buttons here that are grayed out are hidden to students. Students can't see the quizzes or the announcements or the assignments or the discussions buttons, because those items are available to them in their modules, and so the students never have to click around and look for the week 3 assignment or the week 4 assignment. In fact, if I go to discussions here, now mine are pretty well organized, but imagine if you had 3 semesters worth of old discussions piled up in this area. That might be confusing for students who didn't know where to go. So again, I really emphasize the modules approach, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. I want to talk about these just organizing these graded items into an approach that makes sense for you and for students. So we can click on this grades button as an instructor, and we can see that our students, I only have one, our students are rows, and then the graded items are columns. Every one of those graded items will show as a column here, and then the graded item, the grade groups, the assignment groups, will show over here. And I only have one right now, but we'll fix that. And then Canvas will calculate all of this for you according to what you tell it, and show a current grade over here, and that's helpful to you and to the student. So we'll look at that in just a second, but first let's go back and look at how to do our assignment groups. Right now all of these assignments all count the same. If we don't do anything, they're all worth the same. So an assignment is the same as a quiz, and that's the same as a discussion, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to go in here to assignments, and you can see, even though I clicked on assignments, this really should say graded items, because we have assignments, but we also have our discussions are in here, and our quizzes, and other things that are graded would show in this list. And you can see why clicking on assignments may be confusing to a student, because they just see this list that doesn't. But in my class here, this assignment buttons is not available to students. I'm going to use this to build my assignment groups, and so I want to not create an assignment, I want to create a group. So I'll call this first one quizzes, and that should have, yep, there it is at the bottom. We'll leave it down there for a second, and we'll make another one called discussions, and so those should be down at the bottom. Yeah, and then we'll leave this one, we'll leave it called assignments, because I think that actually works. That's how it is labeled by default, and that works for us. So I'm going to start organizing these groups. I'm just going to take my discussions and drop them in. It does not matter which order you put them in here, but it matters to me, so I'm going to take just a second to make sure these are actually in order. My introductions that we created for week 0 is a discussion, and so I'm going to put it in there. Week 2 and then week 1, and so all of my discussions are organized in an assignment group, and I can give that group some rules and some weight here in just a second. But first I've got to put all of my quizzes. I only did 7 of these. Normally there would be 16 or so weeks in a semester, And I'm just going to drag these down here and then organize them in a second. Week 3. And one thing you may notice if you're doing this is that I'm using Firefox here, and it plays pretty nicely with Canvas. Some web browsers do not cooperate this well, and so you may find that the dragging and the dropping is not as clean and crisp as you like. And so my assignments are already in the assignments group. I'm going to drag the practice quiz. Practice quiz goes in with the quizzes. Okay, so we have our 3 assignment groups. You can do lots of assignment groups. You can get real complicated. You can do all sorts of things here. Sometimes I like to do a quizzes group and then an exams group. If I have maybe a midterm and a final, those may be in their own group, but we'll keep it simple for now. And then you want to go up here and click on this assignment groups weight and click this box, assign final grade based on assignment groups. And so how much should all of this stuff weigh as far as the overall grade for the course? And we'll keep this simple. And now everything, well, maybe the quizzes should be worth more and this worth less. So we're at 100%, and I can save that, and I can see that each of these groups, everything in this group will average to be 33% of the total grade. Now, one other thing I like to do is a bonus group, bonus, and then down at the bottom I might say let's create an assignment, and I'm going to call this a bonus. And I'll say my bonus is worth 10 points, and it's going to go into the bonus group, and then I will save. But I have to tell it to do something. But that 10 points, I told it that this bonus is worth 10 points, but that really doesn't matter. That could be 1,000,000 points, because the bonus group, the bonus assignment, is in the bonus group. And so this is actually what Canvas is counting or calculating. This 10 points doesn't matter. If I give the student 10 points on the bonus, they get 100% of this section. Now the bonus, I generally do 10% on that, and so students actually have the ability to go over 100 by 10% or so. And so that's, I can throw stuff into that group, and it serves as incentive for them to do this or that, and I'll throw stuff in there during the semester. And so that's how you do your assignment groups. And if we look back at the grades now, we can see that I have more out here. Now I have my columns, and there's a bonus I created, but I have these additional columns. So this is showing me, how well is this student doing in their assignments? How well are they doing on their quizzes? And this is really helpful if student emails or calls and says, hey, where am I losing points? You say, well, you're doing all of your assignments, your quizzes are okay, but you're not turning in your discussions, and that's 33% of your overall grade. And that kind of gives you a snapshot of how they are doing. From the student's perspective, if the student, and we'll go into student view here, settings, and then student view, the student sees all of those graded items as a, I'm going to go into grades. See, the students can't see all those other buttons. Go to grades, and then students see all of those graded items as rows. There's the bonus, and then introductions, and this is sort of a checklist, and I really like having this list ready for students at the beginning of the term. This way they know what their graded items are for the whole semester. They're not frustrated when new things pop up in this list. And so it's calculating how well am I doing overall and in each group. The other really neat thing, and I don't have any real numbers here, but this tool lets you plug in what if scores. So the students may say, well, what if I make an 89 on that and a 75 on that, and what if I just skip that altogether and I make a 56 on this, but then I do really well and make a 100. And so obviously as their real grades come in, it will populate here, but they can plug in these sort of hypothetical what if scenarios to see, how well do I really need to study for this upcoming assignment. And in a lot of cases, students, at least in my classes, they realize, well, I'm doing okay, and we have so many quizzes and so many discussions, I'm okay if I skip one or two. And that actually works out okay as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but it lets them get some real information. What does my bottom line look like if I do well on this test, or if I skip this discussion or this assignment? So that's a really handy tool, and I generally will do a video of some sort that introduces students to this tool, because it cuts down on the number of calls to me. What do I have to make on the next test to do really well. The other thing I will show you about the assignments thing is the rules. I think this is really handy, and I love doing this. I'm talking and clicking at the same time, and I can't get back assignments. This shows that list of assignments where we set up our groups, and this is where we can set up some rules. And so if I click on this little gear doodad here and click on edit, I can change the weight, but I can also set up rules here. I can say, you know what, drop their lowest score from this group, or drop their two lowest scores from this group, or their lowest and their highest. And I generally don't get all that complicated. I generally just give them one freebie from each group. Even the quizzes, and they'll generally have 16 of them, so I generally don't mind at one bit letting them drop one quiz. And this saves me a lot of grief, because I tell them about this from the very beginning. And now in this discussion, I'm going to say drop your lowest score, but never drop the introduction assignment. I want them to do that one, but I do want them to be able to drop one of the others. And so I tell them from the very beginning they are permitted to they can drop a score, just don't do it, and they'll take a 0 on it. If they don't do it when the deadline has passed, I'll come in here to Canvas or to the gradebook and just plug in a 0 for them, and then they can't do it because it's already got a grade. And then Canvas knows, well, they get one drop, and it's dropping their lowest score all semester. So if they make a 14 here and a 32 there and a 56 there, it's dropping the lowest. And if they skip one and take a 0, well, that becomes the lowest. And it's doing that all semester automatically on the fly. I don't have to do anything. And so what I tell them is that freebie is their technical difficulty, or I got sick, or I couldn't get it because I was helping my brother move, or whatever your excuse is accounted for with that freebie. And hopefully they don't need that freebie and they can just take it at the end of the term. More often than not, they skip something and it doesn't really help them. But it does cover me. In the very beginning, I tell them, don't come to me with your technical difficulties, because I've already accounted for this at the beginning of the term. And again, that greatly cuts down on the drama and the calls that I get about that sort of thing. So this video is up to 15 minutes or so, and I think that's probably enough. I hope that was helpful. If so, please let me know, and I will try to keep doing this sort of thing. Thanks. Bye.